Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and I want to discuss Arsenal's pre-season and how it went down and my impressions of it, and just a reflection on where we need to go moving forward and how I see things, the general picture. So obviously it was a little bit of an up and down pre-season. We beat the MLS All-Stars, putting 5 past them. Then we subsequently lost to Manchester United 2-0. And in the most recent game, we beat Barcelona 5-3. So I think overall, I'm actually quite happy that we didn't have a perfect pre-season, because I just feel that at times last season, the fact we were winning most of the games early on, so before the World Cup, we'd only lost, I think, 1 game and drawn 1 game, and we pretty much won all the other games. I felt it created a little bit of this pressure that we were carrying, this need to just keep being perfect, to keep getting wins on the board. And I actually quite like the fact that there's been a little bit of thinking going on, a little bit of trying to experiment and find the right balance, and the fact that it hasn't all come together, I think is actually a positive thing. Because if you look at Manchester City and often how they've started seasons in the past and their pre-seasons, they're often quite underwhelming, and especially last year when you look at, they lost the Community Shield to Liverpool, and also they lost to Tottenham early in the season, I think. And yet there's never a real panic when it's Man City, because people always say, Pep's just taking his time to get things together. And I think Arsenal fans, we just need to give Arteta that same trust that, yeah, sure, things weren't 100% firing on all cylinders. The machine wasn't completely functioning as efficiently as it could. But ultimately, we're seeing enough positives. Rice was integrated. Partey seems to be back in the fold in midfield. Havertz was looking pretty good up top. Trossard played excellently. Timber, the new signing, coming in and looking very assured at the back. And Saka looking like he's picking up where he left off last season. Jesus had a fine game against Barcelona. So all of these little positives, I think we can look at as exciting and something that Arteta can hopefully bring together as the season progresses. So as much as it sounds counterintuitive, I think the fact that it didn't go completely according to plan or according to expectation is somewhat of a positive, because I think maybe it just allows Arsenal fans to just take the pressure off our own view of how we look at it and think, okay, it might just take a little bit of time for the project to hit its peak, but ultimately the signs are definitely positive. And I don't necessarily think we need to be first for the majority of the season as we were last year. There's nothing wrong with maybe being in the pack for a little bit this season in terms of the chasing pack, or in the lead group, let's call it. But we don't always have to be the ones making the headlines because we're leading the table. Perhaps like being in the shadows of a Man City and then coming on strong in the second half of the season, I think is a better way to go, because it's like in a marathon. If you're not going to win the majority of your marathon races if you're leading from gun to tape. It's just not a formula that's going to work. And part of that is the mental pressure that comes with it. And I think with Arsenal last season, an element of that came in. Like, because we hit the front so early, it was almost like we were carrying this burden of needing to stay at the top throughout the course of the season. And I just feel like not only fitness and physically is it challenging to stay at the top for the whole season, but I think mentally, just to carry that load and that pressure is actually quite draining. So I think for us to actually, I'm not saying deliberately not look to win games, but what I'm saying is maybe just dropping into the lead group and being there or thereabouts in February within 5 points. I would really like that. I would just like to see us stay on the shoulder of the leader and then see what we've got in the second half of the season and actually proactively look to try and peak come the new year and just see this first few months of the season like, let's get through the Champions League group with a minimum of fuss and ultimately try and be in the lead group in the Premier League, so winning 80% of the matches. But you know, the odd draw here or there isn't going to derail us. I think that's how I look at it. Sometimes a draw might not be the worst result in the world this season in certain matches. Just take the draw in some cases, move on, and see where we're at in February. And then that's when I want to really see us absolutely move up the gears. Okay, people, just a quick one this time on my brief impressions of pre-season and how I want things to look moving forward. But yeah, I think there are definitely some causes for optimism from the pre-season. As I said, the performances from certain individuals. I think the fan base out in America, it looked absolutely unbelievable. The fact that people were there and cheering Arsenal so vociferously and passionately, I think is just allows the players to see the scale of the club and how much it means to the fan base around the world. And I think once that seeps into the club, I really think it creates this impression that everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet and we're really performing to our global fan base. And I think that was a big part of it, just for the players to sample the Arsenal love and how much they appreciate it all around the world. And yet, really can't wait, people, for this season to get underway now. And I'll be back, people, with more videos, obviously, as I get more impressions on how Arsenal are going closer to this start of the season, August the 12th, against Nottingham Forest at home. So keep an eye out, people, for more videos. And in the meantime, I'd love to hear from you and joining in the dialogue. But guys, peace, love.